Well, amidst reports of the Big 12 talking to schools from the Pac 12 once again, this time the report coming from The Athletic and Stuart Mandel, a guy who's been kind of a Pac 12 homer in this process, we still get a Pac 12 propaganda machine response from John Canzano saying that Colorado State is an expansion option. You'd sure think that means there's some trepidation about Colorado leaving, but yet at the same time, Pac 12 sources say it's going to be a layup to beat the Big 12 TV deal. Yeah, you're not going to want to miss the rest of this video. Welcome in. Please consider subscribing if you have not. You get college football, college basketball, and conference realignment from a Big 12 slant here on this channel. Subscribe, click the bell so you know when it is that I'm going live, which happens twice a week, and drop other content throughout the week as well. All right, if you watched the last video from yesterday, there's a full breakdown of what was in the Athletic article, but the headline from it is that the Big 12 is in contact with some of the four corner schools as the Pac-12 still nervously awaits whatever their TV fate is going to be, as we're almost a month past that unity statement that said something would happen in the very near future. Here's what John Canzano and the Pac-12, through him, had to say. So the Pac-12 Conference CEO group voted to approve further exploration of four universities for possible conference expansion. I have learned SMU and San Diego State are in the quartet, according to one of the conference presidents. Colorado State may be among the candidates. I'm still working to confirm that, and the fourth school. Now, Colorado State, if you're into like the rumor scene, burst onto the scene yesterday. Well, I'm recording this on Saturday. On Friday, they burst onto the scene on Friday when guy runs the UCLA, I believe it's the UCLA 24/7 site, or maybe On3 site, covers UCLA, said Utah's leaving for the Big 12. Somebody may be coming with them, and Colorado State was a Hail Mary attempt by George Kliavkov to stop whatever is happening from happening. So that was the first time we had seen Colorado State. Now we're seeing it show up here in a John Canzano piece. And I would just tell you, I mean, there's a little bit more on Colorado State in here. It says Colorado State would be a curious possible addition. It has a new football stadium and is a research university, but the Pac-12 already captures the Denver television market with Colorado. For that reason, I believe any interest in Colorado State might be just that, exploration. Yeah, exploration, because if Colorado were to leave, you might be sitting there like, all right, well, let's try to get back the Denver market and get Colorado State. I also had someone in my Twitter mentions say, hey, Colorado's worst nightmare is Colorado State getting to the Power 5 level and that kind of money. Maybe this is some sort of veiled threat at Colorado here to say, hey, don't leave because we'll do this. If that is the case, you also are confirming there is some trepidation here about Colorado leaving. So all this seems to work against the rest of what we're going to hear in this article from John Canzano, but I digress. He says that does not mean the Pac-12 will definitely add four schools via expansion. It just means the board gave the green light to kick the tires on four possible additions. I think it's most likely the Pac-12 only adds two members. Could be zero. I'd be surprised at four. I would also be surprised at four. I think two definitely makes the most sense. I think they're probably going to have to go two. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious what those two would be with San Diego State and SMU. He says San Diego State has been in regular contact with the Pac-12 per a conference source. He says, no, I don't expect Colorado to leave the Pac-12. Athletic director Rick George is on record on that front. He says UNLV is not among the expansion candidates, so I'm sorry to any Running Rebel fans out there. The academic profile of the university apparently does not fit the objectives of the Pac-12 presidents and chancellors. And then we got this BS again. Fresno State and Boise State are unlikely to be Pac-12 expansion candidates. Sources at both schools told me they've only had limited contact with the conference in recent months. They're better potential fits for the Big 12. When the Pac-12 accuses the Big 12 of spreading BS rumors and narratives, this is one of the biggest ones that we've had on the other side, that the Big 12 has some legitimate interest in Fresno State and Boise State. They can shove that one. Several Pac-12 sources say they're confident the conference will match or beat the Big 12's announced $31.6 million annual rights distribution figure. Get ready, because this seems right out of a John Canzano article back in November. On Friday, one well-placed conference source called being in the vicinity of that number a layup. A layup to be in the vicinity of that number. One athletic director in Las Vegas this week for the women's basketball tournament told me he won't be surprised when the Pac-12 beats the Big 12's number. Said the AD, we have better schools, better markets, and better ratings. And this, even Stuart Mandel was kind of using this point on Twitter to get on somebody, saying like, how could the Big 12 be the most valuable league out there if nobody wants their schools? The market's telling you who is more valuable. The Big 12 got in, got their deal done, and now every article out there, even John Wilner, has backed off to saying, I was never that confident the Pac-12 would actually beat the Big 12's deal. That's John freaking Wilner, man. So it would seem like it is not a layup at all. And it would seem like this is a very antiquated, puffing my chest out because things aren't going well sort of take. You can say that until the cows come home. Pun intended, right? In truck stop conference country. You can say that until the cows come home, my dude. But the market is telling you that the Big 12 is a more valuable entity as of right now. Of course, we're going to get this from Canzano. The University of Oregon is way on board with its commitment to the Pac-12 per a source with knowledge. That makes sense to me. The Big Ten isn't offering membership. The Big 12 makes 0 cents for Oregon. The Ducks' primary objective is to make the college football playoff. And frankly, winning an automatic berth is easier in the Pac-12. Well, I'd agree with that. Sure as hell easier to win the Pac-12 than it is to win the Big 12. That is correct. You nailed that one, Canzano. And Oregon, the thing with all these, it's like, what else is Oregon going to tell a reporter? They can't right now. They know how much the boat is being rocked in the Pac-12. They're not going to rock it even more, even if they did have at least a little bit of fleeting interest in the Big 12. I don't think Oregon or Washington to the Big 12 is all that realistic of a possibility. I don't. But I also don't think they would say a word about that to John Canzano if it were actually possible. We're getting toward the end here. It says, I've had a number of athletic directors tell me they remain confident the Pac-12 is going to get a favorable deal done, and the 10 current members will remain intact. Still, it's taking time, and there are some interesting forces at work trying to undermine the effort. Be careful with what you see reported, particularly from non-sourced entities. All right, guys, believe my Substack. Don't believe ESPN, The Athletic, CBS, the Sports Business Journal, the Action Network with Brett McMurphy. Don't believe all those guys. Believe the Substack. That's the message from Pac-12 country. Keep in mind the votes of presidents and chancellors are the only ones that count. The ADs are key stakeholders, but the academics that comprise the Pac-12 CEO group ultimately hold the votes. We might be getting tired of fretting about the ongoing Pac-12 saga, but the decision makers themselves don't appear antsy. The board members are far more focused on cutting a shrewd, smart, sensible deal. And look, all that part I certainly believe can be true. They're behind the scenes, they don't really care that much about what the narrative is here, but it sure seems like people, you had the athletic director at Arizona State admitting that there have been some frustrations, right? You've had anonymous athletic directors through Stuart Mandel say that there have been frustrations here. We've seen this come out in spots that are not biased, anti-Pac-12 biased ways. It was the Arizona State AD just doing an interview. There's clearly been some frustration here from athletic directors and those who are a little close to it, and I think understand the reality of the situation a little bit better than stuffy university presidents in the Pac-12 that have hurt the league before, and John Canzano has even written about that, how it's hurt the league before. So that's why I kind of take that with a grain of salt. I'm sure it's probably true, but that doesn't mean that they're not misunderstanding the situation and not understanding the sense of urgency that is required right now. Washington State President Kirk Schultz told John Wilner he hoped something would get done mid-March. We're looking for a good, strong deal. I think Pac-12 Commissioner George Kliavkoff needs something to talk. This is interesting. We'll close with this. I think Pac-12 Commissioner George Kliavkoff needs something to talk about next week to pacify the public. I wrote a column about it early Friday. When I offered that thought to a conference source, I got some pushback. Quote, that's a media-driven narrative, the source said. Who says George has to have something to say? Not his bosses. Okay. We'll see how that holds up with the schools. They're saying the right things publicly, but what's going on behind the scenes as clearly some consternation rises without anything actually on the table. I think we'll just wrap it up there. Obviously, if you want more on this, I'm going to go live tonight. I should be having my normal live show tonight. Keep watching the channel for more videos as well. Subscribe if you have not. Make sure you click the bell. You'll know when I go live. You'll know when I drop content. Conference realignment, Big 12 football, Big 12 basketball here on this channel all week, every week. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon.